going to go through the market here quickly, a little faster than normal, so that way we can get into some additional stuff. A fair bit of activity over the weekend. I guess we're possibly, depending where you're at or what your work statutory holidays are, you might still be on holidays. I'm in the midst of a 2 week holiday, so it's been a little bit different of a schedule and a process for me, but either way, it's been fun. I have gotten a little bit, I don't know if it's allergies or a little under the weather here the last day, but not too bad. Nothing crazy. But I do have some fluids here to keep my throat working here for me. Um, yeah, feel free to join the conversation or um, just put any messages into Club VC chat. Um, yeah, we'll definitely go through a rundown, Taryn, on Photon. I've used it quite a bit already now, and I'm quite happy with the way it operates. Still really kind of existing in the Solana meme space. I don't know if that's the best space to be in at the moment. It feels like Base, possibly even Degen Chain are where some of the activities happening right now. But I've really enjoyed Solana. We'll continue to play around in that space. But it's like we said with NFTs. There's this kind of multi-chain kind of attack at the moment. It does fragment things a bit, makes things a little tough. But we really want to look at things. We're still in the early parts of the full bull run cycle here, and that is not yet active in the at least the ETH NFT space here. So, but we will go through them as a usual cover here on Mondays. So, market wise, you can see continued downtrend volume overall, blur volume a little bit lower as well, but a little bit of almost negative sentiment on the timelines. We got that bounce a couple weeks ago, and then since then it has kind of returned back to previous and lower levels. So that exists across the board. Buyer to seller ratio still hovering in that 0.9 range. Buyers and sellers remaining flat over the last couple of weeks. Daily activity in terms of sales volume is kind of pretty flat here as well, over really almost the last couple of weeks here too. No real major traction on Magic Eden at this point. Like I said previously, I think they're biting into OpenSea share. Blur, it's harder to gauge what the natural volume and activity is there. I think if we're looking at natural volume activity, then you might lose 60% of the activity that's on Blur, maybe more. Um, Daily activity in the users, again, pretty level, pretty flat. All of that's positive to see. We're not in a decline, so to speak. And in fact, we got a bit of a new buyer bump over the last little bit. So as much as sentiment and general activity is maybe down a bit, it's actually been pretty level. It's just not kind of generating the same kind of excitement and returns that we're seeing in some of the meme cycle here. So we are down floor price on blue chip now this last week, about 6-7% versus 6 months ago. We are still up roughly 2x in terms of ETH value. Of course, ETH is also probably up about that over that time frame. The last week we have winners in Azuki and Cryptodes, Moonbirds, Penguins, and Creeps up a bit, but Azuki kind of getting that bounce with the meme token launch. It was actually up more significantly prior, but there seems to be a bit of energy around Azuki at the moment. One of the few collections that's seeing that. VFriends remains the only one up over the last 30. Mid caps are up about 20% still in ETH terms, and holding up about 2.5x. So mid caps have continued to outperform blue chips, with some collections in there that are really moving up into that range. Goblin Town, I think probably with some kind of token rumor, etc., moving a little heavier. And Gutter Cat continues to be the one that's up, and Killer Bears up over the last 30 days. Last time I mentioned that we've added in some more metrics into this dashboard. So things like what's going on with bid buyers, etc. The amount of blur bids that have happened over the last um, period or currently held, sorry, and the amount of larger holders also have in their average buy, which I think is quite interesting to see versus the floor, and then it kind of gives you a perspective of where holders are up or underwater in general activity. So that's the main part of what is going on there. If we were to take a look on Blur, Azuki, the only daily winner here, Pixelmon, Sappy Seal. So there's a few up, mostly a bit of a red day. There's a bit of a crypto kind of sell off at the moment, although it looks like we've bounced back up a little bit since then. That kind of the quarter end, month end, etc. Just a really important push and close at all-time highs. So we got that, and then we get a bit of a quick sell-off here. I would imagine we're back into positive cycles here in a bit. So as everything kind of slides, then you're going to get a natural kind of sell-off overall. We'll take a look at DGens here. DGens is really good for looking at multi-chains. Ordinals are generally performing pretty well, mostly green across the mark, but they have been down more recently. Ordinals are an interesting one to watch. I think these downtrend dips are probably good entry opportunities on the ordinal ecosystem, as overall it remains pretty positive. I've, for the most part, sat in Bitcoin in general. I think that's, for me, kind of the safer market bet at the moment, and then been playing around in the meme token cycle with a smaller percentage of portfolio, and really those are my two focuses at the moment. So we'll get into. Actually, I'll pause. If there's any questions, etc. We probably should also look at some TA on some of the larger collections here and get an idea of where the broader market is. If you have any questions, do let me know. We can pull that up. Sorry, I want to pull up apes, but we already have it up. So you can see here from previous session, we had this bounce here, and we were looking at this green candle here, looking at an up to the support resistance level. It bounced off that, came back down, and didn't hold again. So now we're into kind of uncharted territory with new kind of long-term lows here. I don't know. We can look at the weekly to see where there might be additional support. I would suspect 10 ETH target at the moment is where we're looking likely at this point. But any amount of this, I think, is still interesting for apes. General sentiment, though, is not always as positive. You're going to get more negative sentiment performing well when it comes to X posts, anyway. So that makes it more challenging. Come on, come on. So Pudgies, we broke out of this resistance level, ran up, um, hit a long-term kind of downtrend here, and then we're going to cycle through here. I would imagine we're cycling through here back down towards possibly 10 before we see an up, unless we get some kind of break above this kind of long-term resistance. We kind of got there, but it did not hold. Um, though I could look at this resistance, it might be better fit. It's about there. So we're still fighting this bit of a downtrend there on Pudgy, Mutants. So again, I like to do this on this Monday session, not only just to look at specific collections and where they're at, but also to get a general idea where ETH NFTs are at on a larger basis by looking at the kind of key players there. So a rough break here at the moment for Mutants. This 2.07 or 2.1 level is a pretty important hold for Mutants. Otherwise, we're looking at kind of more potential downtrend. I don't know if it's going to go much further than say this 2 ETH mark. Again, 2 ETH mark is likely more like 1.9 to bid sales, etc. The candles will extend beyond those kind of listing price thresholds. Um, but yeah, a bit of an interesting spot here for mutants as well. I haven't looked at Azuki. We'll take a look at Azuki, and then we'll switch over to memes unless there are any questions on NFTs. So we did do some meme trading on Friday. Was it Friday? I think it was Thursday or Friday. Actually, I think it might be Thursday. Um, so Azuki looks like they're in this really long range. Yeah, kind of like extension of that line there. So it could see Azuki back down to 4, but it's still in this kind of this pinch zone here for Azuki. D-Gods I thought were quite interesting last session. They haven't really moved from that point. Maybe a bit up and a bit back down. So they broke this kind of sharp downturn resistance point, but they're looking like they're likely to go back down to this 1.25 range, and then maybe move from there. So yeah, so the general sentiment across the board is still bearish on ETH NFTs. Probably going to need meme cycle to kind of move around. So if we're looking at memes really running through mid-April here near the halvening, I think that's when they're going to see their peak move. Then we might be another month out for NFTs in general. Okay, so into meme trading, we did spend some time on Solana last time. I think there's some interest in base, and if you want to get really into it, you can get into Degen Layer 3. Um, I think that in that sense, you're better off just to bet on Degen, but be aware and adjacent to it. But base has had some success. The quality hasn't been there in the sense of the type of memes that are active there, but there's definitely been some wins, some success over there. I followed along with Solana quite a bit. Where I've had the most interest is still looking for kind of short activity, newer token trades. Super risky. Again, when you're in this space, you're playing with a percentage of your portfolio that is more sense to uh, betting, risking, gambling. There's that sort of level of it. Now, if you move higher up the established chain and look at longer term meme coins, then your degree of risk kind of tapers down. But there's still definitely some upside on some of the larger coins that we've seen, like WIF doing basically a 2x here recently. I think something that's super interesting overall is some of those more established ones. Here's an interesting one right here. In fact, I would look at this one right away. So one thing that I think plays really well in these meme token cycles is that you look at these kind of recent launch tokens, they get this push up initially, a retracement, and then you're looking for a next leg up, and that's kind of your cleanest move once they kind of establish themselves. Very similar to the NFT cycles that we've seen on free mints, et cetera, where they would run up and then they gas off, and then it would be like a 2 week window later, and then if they start to move up again, that's when you've seen these collections kind of really take hold. You can see the same kind of cycle on meme coins and newer meme coins. Be wary of anything that's, under an hour old. They can go to zero, and there's things to watch for, things to spot for. But something like this that's been around now for just an hour and it's seeing a bit of an uptick, I'm going to look for this to maybe break a little bit higher here. So this 145 range, I think, is probably the more intelligent entry point. But market cap, Beast Cat, I mean, that's got something to it. Um, you know, I play these pretty short. Make your quick entry, exit, and then leave. Where I've gotten into trouble is I've made that play and then I've gone back into the coin because I think, oh, it's going to run further, and that's typically where I mess up and miss out. So I don't play the top, and then I'm like, oh, I could get back in because it's still running, and that's where you get into a little bit of risk with that. I'm not playing with a very large bag. If I was with a bit of a larger bag, then you would leave some in some of these tokens and let them ride and kind of play off that. But just kind of basic entry, lower bag size, and then having that ability to kind of play around in that space and get really familiar with it, because I think it's going to be really important as this cycle continues. So with that, we copy the address off of here, and then we move into Photon. I was using Radium before. Radium just doesn't function quite as well. Photon is, I think, essentially a bot in a way where you can have more advanced features to it. So when you're buying and selling, you have the ability to um, increase your bribery amount, and you're going through with a little bit more gas fee and adjust your settings with it. So it's good there. Things to look for here on here is mint authority is disabled, LP is burned, top 10 holders isn't too high. So there's a lot of positives to this. But again, we're looking for this bounce. I like that Photon also has the charting in here so we can watch it as we're in. But I'm going to watch this one to move above this 120K level. I have it set to market cap. I think that's kind of an interesting move here. See how this has not bumped and is dropping lower. So if we would have entered in that initial position here off this candle, we would have got wrecked pretty quick. So it's important to watch here and see how this recovers, and if this can run off this initial kind of move. And you can almost say maybe that the first wave is here, second wave is here, and that's possible with this one, right? Up, retracement, up. So that might be all that's with it, right? So but you can see just that panic sell that happens with these, because there's a lot of short-term entry and exit. So you certainly buy into something that's more established, and away we go. But that's less fun, especially for a session like this where we only have limited time, right? So this one here, I have it set to um, 10K liquidity, 3-hour age, um, and set to Solana. So kind of very specific parameters with this. And then look through here. Typically, you want to just bump up a few of them, look at them, see if there's any one of them that look interesting on their cycles, and act accordingly from there. So I covered Terra, and I covered Photon a bit. Um, when you get to Photon, it's going to want you to create a wallet, and then you will transfer Solana into Photon, and then so it'll exist on the Photon site itself. I guess you could use it on mobile. I haven't used it on mobile. I haven't quite figured that out. I've liked it really well on desktop here. Mr. Beast Cat is slowly dying here, so um, don't necessarily have to act super fast on these, right? So I know because the pumps are pretty short lived, there's that tendency to want to just like jump all over it. But sometimes it plays to watch your entry a bit here. Questions, comments, take a pause.
I was just gonna say, Rotes, I've used the mobile photon a bunch, and it's pretty solid too. It's
Okay.
pretty easy to link as well. You just have to click that. There's like a QR code to scan actually, and it's
Okay.
run through a browser on your phone.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
it's pretty easy and pretty sleek too.
Nice.
Um, yeah, the one thing I'd say is like I don't know if you noticed when you start a new account, it gives you the keys only one time
Mm-hmm.
to import.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times it's nice to, if you snag that import code right away, then you'll have access to just throw Solana in and out of there. Otherwise, you're just kind of stuck. I think you can only really export Solana if you'd have to like sell a meme before you're able to send anything out, which is kind of
Okay.
annoying in my mind.
Fair. Interesting. Yeah. So specifically if you're holding a bit of a bag, right? This one
Yeah, but
almost
it's by far the fastest platform I think that
yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah. I've only had one fail transaction. And I think that was in kind of a bit of a I don't know if it was moving up sharply or moving down sharply, or if I tried to do a transaction on a kind of a large buy spike and it didn't go through. But otherwise, yeah, every time it works very effectively. Um, you know, you want to be playing with a little bit more Solana using it because there are some increased fees using it, um, but quite reasonable. So you're paying a little bit of a bribery fee. I've set mine down to 0.05 instead of uh, 0.01. Sorry, 0.005 versus 0.01. Um, that seems to work fine. And then there's some slippage settings that are in there as well. But and then the just overall layout and the way it kind of calculates for you, I think, is really effective. So it'd be nice to find a trade to get in here and use. That way we can kind of show it off here. So last session we didn't necessarily hit any wins during the session. We did actually hit on one token though, that if we're still holding long term, it played out really well. But in general, it was pretty good. This one's brand new. The other way to look at these is you can go to deck screener and catch up the trending. Sorry, I got two screens here, so it messes with my mouse settings a bit. Handsome's cat. Interesting. So this hasn't really had that first full wave retracement yet. Um, so your entry isn't quite there. But this one's kind of interesting. I might go ahead and grab another window on it, just to kind of have it in the back end. But it's brand new. Bit of risk to it there. Um, but being that it's Ansem, maybe that's interesting. I'm consistently set to a 1 minute chart on a lot of these. Nubcat was the one that we played in last week. Mew was one that I was in early on, and had since retraced. But this is set on just overall volume, versus the kind of newer counts there that I was looking at. kind of looking interesting. I think you want to get up above this um, point 0.4. I don't know. It's a little bit of a watch right now. A lot of these meme coins are very thematic, very much like NFTs, and when NFTs are kind of in their big run there through the free NFT meta, and so you'll see kind of that movement, and that right now it's cats, anything cat related. Obviously, dogs are still the kind of the kings across the board on most memes. With Pepe, but cats have made their full attempt to try and kick off. The idea is that at least one cat has to perform really well, and so you just see so many of them. It'd be nice if Deck Screener had a little preview of the live chart kind of in this table somehow, because that's one of the more annoying bits is going through there and looking for a chart that is appealing. Sometimes you can find that through the trending here. You kind of see that wave here with Catino, right? So this is that example of what you're looking for, right? So first move up, kind of simmers down, and then you get that second kind of run up. And then this actually carried through that run all the way up to like almost like a third or fourth wave up, or just one really long kind of run, and now it's pulled back. Um, Very interesting. Snapcat. I like the name of that one. Mochi Cat had a nice move yesterday to this kind of pump. Somewhat interesting levels at the moment. If we're not seeing anything in the news side of it, then we can look at something like just volume in general and just try to play a bit of a swing move, which could be another easier way to make that play. So we'll look a bit more here, but so far, a lot of these newer ones, nothing is looking super positive. When you see this kind of like step up, kind of very consistent step up, chances are this is something that is um, not what you want to enter. So these can be manipulated. This one's hard to say it's exactly that, but this consistent trend upward like that, typically it's manipulated, and it's just to try and catch people, and then it'll dump. So beware. Any of these new coins are super risky. Those three checks on Photon are a good way to make sure you're a little bit safer. But nothing is looking that interesting at the moment. I like this one. It's a bit of a chuckle at least. Discat. So low of an entry too. Might actually just do a little bit on this one. Take a look. Pretty wild candle there. 32% top holders. Not too abnormal when it's a brand new uh, token, but super volatile. I think if we enter this, it's just zero point 0.1 in. So you hit the amount that you want to buy. You can go ahead and quick buy. This I'm looking at is a pure gamble being so new. It made me chuckle. There's enough to it there where it's kind of interesting to pick up. So we made that buy. That should close here in a second. We'll see that transaction go through. Hasn't filled yet. A little bit slow. 15K liquidity is pretty low. Makes things a little bit more volatile, right? I just finished saying that I have not had a failed transaction, or I've had only one, but that did not go through. Of course, it could be the slippage side of things, right? So I think I'm set to 10% slippage. So it could be more slippage being that it's a new coin. So I'm gonna watch it a bit here though. These red candles are a little bit nerve wracking on it. I mean, upside's gonna be pretty low on this as well. You know, maybe it gets a bit of a say 200K run uh, on the upside, but this is very close to territory where it can just zap to nothing as well. So watch this candle, see how it closes. But we could still enter it here at a 0.1. Could check things like Twitter on this. Most of these are going to be just a brand new account, not much going on with them. Um, they are ultimately just a kind of short lived pump and dump cycle, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle kind of scenario for any of these tokens. We want to see a bounce off this before going lower. It's super hard to TA on something brand new like this, but you want to see a bit of a bounce here. I mean, I could go to something like the 1 second chart, but if we close this candle green and then get the next candle going green, I think it's worth making another shot into this. My slippage is still set at 10%, so I could still get denied on it too. Liquidity is dropping. There's the green candle. I want to see another one move up. And if it doesn't, then we'll just back out of it and carry on to the next thing. It's a bit of a teaser candle. Just barely red, but now we're stuck waiting another minute here. Go back to these other charts, see if anything looks interesting here yet. Not quite. Kind of set a bit of a possible downtrend on Steph. I think Steph is, I don't know what cat that is related to. Doesn't look good. This one doesn't look good. And I think a Discord cat is kind of dead too.
That Steph one has a ton of value of volume on it. Did you see that?
Yeah,
That
actually.
one's still kind of looking interesting to me.
Still building up, right? If you can
Yeah,
close above this spot here into all-time high territory again, then it is kind of interesting. So you're not wrong there.
it's also kind of getting around that time where people get out of work and need a quick hit on the East Coast. It's kind of funny. Stuff actually does kind of spike around there. Not
Okay.
gonna lie.
I am typically into these late at night, which is a little harder time to be in them. So we're actually looking like we're going to close all-time high a bit here.
But like you said, you really never know. It's like getting lightning in a bottle sometimes.
Yep.
They just
Yep.
run.
Mm-hmm. So Steph is Ansem's cat. So that did finally go through. So you can go over to the sell section. I like to sit on 100 and just look at where our entry is and where it is currently valued. So we were in at 0.9. So that shows you where we're currently valued. That factors in slippage and selling costs. Super volatile in this. 5 million, 6 million market cap is can be kind of high, right? Unless it's something that really catches on, it's still going to be at risk of volatility. But it is building quite nicely. And you can almost, they won't quite get that initial wave and drop, but anything that comes out strong won't always show that. So now I'm happy if I get something like a 50% win, and I will tend to exit and just call that the short win and move on. You don't always have to look for that big bag. So now there's several ways you could play it. You could sell 50% when you're up, say 50%, and do that a couple times and kind of slowly DCA out, or you can just look to take all and carry on to the next thing. But if volume's there and you get some swing movement, you can kind of look at it there as well. But we're in a good spot. We're up, 10, 15% at the moment, which is, a nice little gain. Because of the risk that you play in these, uh, you may take a profit of say 50% on one and feel really good. Going to the next one, and the next one just turns on you in an instant and you lose 50% on it. So you have to be aware that even though you're taking these smaller wins, you're always at risk of a really sharp downtrend. And it's sometimes hard to get out as quick as you want.
I know it gets kind of silly to do TA at times on these short acting coins, but I like to do it as well. Um, do you use any? Which of those indicators would you use, or do you use ever, or is it
I
just two?
I look like at trend and support, um, and then resistance off of there. You can kind of see this one's got this trend support here that it runs off of.
Mm,
So
yeah.
then if you get into this moment of retracement, then you look for it to come back and bounce. But yeah, I mean, I'm running basic TA on these as well. I think anyone that's uh, trading is going to look at um, that. I will look at Fibonacci retracements, but these moves so volatile that I don't find it to play out quite as well. But just looking at trend and support is typically
Mhm.
something that can work pretty well.
Yeah. Do you feel like sometimes I'll use like the stochastic RSI or RSI. Sometimes it seems like it can predict like when
Mm-hmm.
things are turning. Every
Mm-hmm.
once in a while, that seems to be helpful with like these really fast acting coins. Sometimes it seems like those may indicate.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun to feel some control in a world of chaos, you know?
And then if anything too, you're playing around in these smaller bags. These are a good way to learn how to apply some basic TA and make these moves and trades.
That's super true. I feel like I've learned a lot just trying to analyze on a like a 1 second chart. things mo- things move fast. It's good training.
Right? So this is an interesting spot here. I could see a second red candle, and I might quickly pull the 10% win and then watch it back to that kind of trending support range. If we don't continue upward. Taryn, I seen you come off mute. You got a question, comment? All good. You're not obligated to speak.
It's also got that show my trades button, which is kind of fun to see
Yeah,
sometimes.
right? Exactly. Although it doesn't necessarily always pick up exactly where you bought and sold. Um, I missed where it told me how much I sold that one on, but we're up um, about zero point 0.9. So yeah, about 10% on that. I'm going to look for it to retrace off of this here and turn another green. And so, really small wins at this respect. Not necessarily ideal. As I said, the small wins are nice, but it's a lot easier to pick up a big loss. And often when I make that second play into a coin, that's sometimes where I get trapped. But usually it's because it continues upward, and then I've sold out, and I'm like, oh crap, it's going to continue to run. and I buy in, and then that's where it turns on me. So, you know, want to have your kind of strategy plan there. Go back and look a bit. So this is at 0.06. So we can see where that's at as we look to see if there's anything else that looks interesting. So Steph is leading it on the trending chart here as well, which is quite interesting. Little bub. This one's been around longer. There's a nice kind of second run up. That one as well. First kind of down move, and then it's a second run up that typically is your best, most consistent. So not getting as much of a retracement yet. This is kind of interesting. It might actually be turning again. But doesn't mean that we won't retest this kind of support. Not afraid that if it turns here and goes up above all-time high to buy in again. Looks like it wants to too. So there's Aspen's Ansem's cat, and there is Steph Ansem's cat. Neither are likely Ansem's cat. You can see here, this is a bit of a manipulated chart. I like the look of Phantom Cat here as well. It's a weird link there, Blurp. But it's super clean. I did do some research into BonkBot, and I definitely like Photon over it. So it looks like we're turning an uptrend um, on Ghost here. So Ghost is kind of interesting. Um, Phantom Cat kind of plays in, not moving too fast. A lot more action on Steph in terms of volatility. Again, we're looking for Steph to retest here and then move up. That would be our entry point. If it breaks this, then it's a no go. You're out. If you buy after it bounces and then it breaks down, then you're out. And you do that as quick as possible because chances are that could be where it really dives. So you know, kind of short stops on some of these, especially if you're only taking smaller profits. So it's a very important candle here. The moment it's dropping low, maybe people are exiting already, just knowing that support. The candle isn't closed yet. The candle could still turn green, and you're still in it. Doesn't mean it can't set a new trend either. Make this a little easier to read. Nice thing about this as well, your TA is going to stay on photon as well. So we're back and forth between. Sometimes it's a little depressing too, especially if you go back to a coin that you've previously bought in the early stages and you see that all your TA way back in the early stages and now it's gone up 3, 4, 5x since then. So it all depends on what you're playing, right? If you have a much larger bankroll that you're in on, then you can leave some ride a bit, but these don't last. These are often very fleeting. So you want to be careful with anything like that. And if you're leaving, it's more so profits that you're leaving in there for a moon bag. It's a bit of support and resistance here off of 4.2 million market cap. So there is a potential reentry on that. But breaking this kind of uptrend support is not ideal. And so really you can almost see that, maybe if you want to call that wave one, especially if you're back way back in here and you look at this when the candles are a little bit more appropriate, you can kind of see that up downtrend and that second kind of kickoff where things really ran the best. So sharp move back up to support. It might hold here and then back down. Because now that becomes a resistance point. Back down and then look up from there. Super volatile swings on this still. Like I said, the market cap at 5-6 million is pretty high for a new coin. Early stages, not necessarily a bad thing, but just these coins can trade in the 300K range. And so something like this at 5.6, it could quite easily sharply go back down to say 300K. So resistance right now off of this trend support. Ghost Cat has made a good move actually. Um, let's let's look at this Ghost Cat. I think this is, like I said, I kind of like the looks of this one right now as it's building up. Just crossed into this 1 million range right now. Of course, we missed this kind of sharp move above once it kind of broke above the previous high here. I'm going to pause for 1 second. My son is crying downstairs here. I'm just going to go check on him. passed out on the couch. And then so typically when he wakes up, it's always a bit of an angry wake up. Okay, so we did enter into Phantom Cat, just into all-time highs here. Decent volume on it as well. Now we'll watch this for another likely small gain. You can see here with slippage, etc., we're down right now 10%. So we must have picked this up in the higher part of this candle. But it's got some room to move here. We just broke above 1 million market cap. Interesting ticker. Cool name overall. I think there's a bit to it at least. 2K followers. Working to get into coin market cap, so all pretty positive. Everything looks good on the authority, LP burn, top 10 holders 15%, so this is good. We'll let it ride here for a bit. Now the points to watch here is if we do get a downtrend, we got previous all-time high support at 1.1. This is a big leg run up already. Ideally, your entry was right around here, about 870K. But we were busy looking at Steph at that time. So we've already missed a nice 30% run. So even though we're in all-time high here, this is kind of precarious at the moment because it's already done a pretty good move up. Settings wise here, so quick buy and quick sell. I've set my slippage to 10% burp, and then I have my priority fee at 0.005. Seems to work well. For the most part, it's every transaction is going through. I did get bit by a slippage on a brand new coin, but otherwise I've only had 2 not go through so far, which is really nice. So you can get in and get out really quickly here. These 2 candles here, how they're getting short off of this kind of run up, looks like it's kind of losing some of this upward momentum. I wish our RSI would stay on these. We're in overbought territory at the moment as well. So it might be a point of a quick exit on this and wait for a bit of a pullback. And then use something like Fibonacci retracement on this and see if it kind of holds this 50% mark, or at least previous high, 860K. So a small haircut there. Of course, it goes back to green candle. It could be just a quick retracement and continuation up. You always want to make sure you're leaving about 0.05, 0.06 Solana in your wallet just to allow for processing that transaction. Even though it never costs that much for a transaction, you can get it rejecting your ability to trade, and which is a situation that you don't want to have, especially if you need to exit a position. So I'm looking for a bit of a pullback here, just given the fact that it's done such a good run. Good, could hold this 1.1 previous all-time high. If it does continue this retracement, stuff has continued to fall down past where we were previously. Looking to make a move up. You have a quick downtrend here. Still have Steph up actually. Could be breaking already. I was gonna say the quick downtrend here would have been there. Did kind of shoot past that. So that's no longer. Ghost is moving slower than I would like right now. I want it back into 1.1 territory. Setting that's a maximum slippage, right? So you're not it's not guaranteed that the slippage is going to result in that. Of course, the higher slippage allows to make sure it goes through. Um, so that's kind of the perspective that you look there. If you lower your slippage and then you go to make the trade and there's not the availability for you to make that trade and you don't have your slippage set high enough, then it's going to fail, right? So that's the scenario that you don't always necessarily want. Specifically, you're looking to move in and out pretty quickly here. So that's the one advantage of having a higher slippage is that it's going to make sure that transaction gets through for you. So we're getting back towards where I'd like to see it. It's going to dip below probably previous all-time high, given how tight that is to where we just broke above. But if we look at this leg up here, it could get into this 50% range, where you'd like to actually make that move. So you want it to get to that zone, and then you want to see it start to turn. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn, right? Unless you want to wait for a few candles. because technically you're on this downtrend here. It could just go up there and then back down, right? It's got a long ways it can go before it's in a full on downtrend, right? So that's also, your downside risk as well. So we did get one green candle here in this 60% range. Like I said, I kind of want it in this 50% zone, ideally. Another thing on here, there is outliers that you can add and remove. I like to have them off. Get these kind of like quick wicks up or down, just due to volume in or out. And then as a result, kind of distort really what you're looking at. So I've taken them off just to kind of clean things up. Actually have this drawn. So technically you got to bounce off of that 618. Gonna enter here. This could pop off of the downtrend here. We'll see. Did it actually, what did I just do? Did I actually, did it not go through? Oh, I only bought 0.09 instead of 0.9. Yeesh. That's not what I wanted to do. Maybe that was a happy accident. Of course, this is going to take a larger move for us to get into profit, just given the fact that there's costs associated with the transaction, right? Um, Increase that position size here. So we're roughly about break even right now. Is that right? Just below? Because of the way I bought there, it's harder to tell where we're in. So we're in for, we sold 0.91, so we're in for about 1 ETH at the moment. We're not in for 1 ETH. Well, that guess the previous losses as well, right? Because we took a small loss on the previous one as it looked like it was switching to a downtrend from where we originally bought. So there's, yeah, I mean, absolutely, there's definitely different ways you can play meme coins overall. Like I said initially, that, that early run, second wave is, I think, a really nice way to play it. Um, you can kind of swing trade on something like this. This is fairly new, but it's outside of that kind of first wave, second wave kind of move and run. Or you can kind of make those safer bet plays on the trending coins that have been more established, whether over the last few days, week, or months, with WIF and MOG and Pepe and Pepe coins and some of the other ones that are performing really well. I think the meme cycle really kicks off right around happening. I think in that general range, I think a lot of attention's gonna kind of flood into crypto market with the assumption that Bitcoin sees a bit of a surge and captures some attention there. So we'll see how that plays out. Um, you know, obviously there's still a good degree of meme season going on right now, but I don't know if we've seen the full extent of it yet. These wicks that shoot up like this are sometimes very uh, disheartening. You see this big run up and then it pulls back right away, and you're just like, come on, look, push that up. And if it does, it gets a large wick like that. Sometimes it'll run up like that, but then it'll kind of reconsolidate and then move up from there. Now we got a big wick down. Holy heck, serious volatility here, which is what I complained about earlier. So I guess it's not a bad thing. Good to see that cleaned itself up right away. Um, Pretty wild moves though. Any questions, comments in regards to meme season, NFTs, or anything else in the likes? Kind of double top there. Not great. I guess technically slightly above the previous range high. But maybe we get a bit of consolidation through here before making that move. Could be like a B C D boom. Kind of like off of here and then make the move up. Which looks like that's what's happening here. That wild wick there, I think, is put a bit of a uncertainty. Steph is really retraced. Like I said, 300K, kind of that range where you see a lot of, like, I guess early coins, but being up in this higher range like that, um, and unless it really catches on, it's gonna pull back. And right now, you're seeing this kind of downtrend play out off of here. And there's no real indicator for it to move back up. It may re kind of find its floor and then work up from here, but the moment it's just an off kind of watch. Do I think I don't know. I mean, Boba Opa, Machi's dog, whole debacle. I don't think anyone's really in the profit that got pre-sale. The thing is, there's still Machi. It could be a bit of a fun buy kind of thing. I don't know. It becomes a bit of a meme itself for sure. And there is still, you can't really call anything dead for that reason. But it's a tire fire, and I'm not interested in it. Um, it's just there's a lot of manipulation in there. I don't know. I think if you got pre-sale, you're looking to try and get out with as minimal losses as possible. Maybe wait it out to see if you can get a gain. Goes to show pre-sales are not ideal, right? We've had one successful, and if we look at me right now too, I don't know where that's at compared to where it was early stages, but that's pulled back to my understanding as well. So you did the pre-sale, you're still holding 30%. You've sold some out. That's probably not a bad idea. Um, like I said, there's definitely the potential that Machi manipulates, or there's some kind of play and interest in it, but so much that's happened with it. It's just like it's how do you look and trust and yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Not sure. Kind of a fit here. Of course, we have our top. So you're looking for this to find its breakout, move up, or invalidates, and then you're back to the downside. But yeah, I like that move, Burp. I think you know taking some off the table in case it's a 2-0 kind of scenario where you've recovered at least some of your initial investment. That's good. But yeah, it just everything that's kind of gone around it is just weird. I haven't followed necessarily what the communication is from Machi on it and etc. I followed it night one and was watching it and it was just like, wow, this is kind of rough and wild. But we'll see. So this is a bit of a key spot and move here for uh, Ghost. I'm gonna bounce out just 1 second. I'll be right back. In a bit, yeah. Well, because I'm busy at the moment, but I will in a second. Okay, Mel? One of my granola bars. So I got to check to see if it's actually. It's hard to say. It could have gotten validated right about here. We're still fine. I mean, it can come back to here and move up and be all right. But it might be a case that we're pulling out and getting out as safe as we can on Ghost, Phantom Cat. And take this for about maybe another 15 minutes. And then I should take the kids outside, etc., and play. Um, daughter has surgery tomorrow, so she will be out of commission. So this is our last real good play day before some rest days. So this double top is still kind of a thing that's scary on this, right? So kind of shows that we topped out, tried to make a push above that, failed at that same point. Kind of in the hands of the bear right now. Um, we could get a double bottom here and almost get that opposite scenario going on. So still possible. In fact, kind of have three levels of support here. Some of the lines are unfortunately a little harder to see. Let's see if I can thicken that up. But if it doesn't hold this, then it's out in capital preservation. And that's another L on the same token. Of course, now it's teasing me with a green candle, but I think overall it's, you can see too as well, we've gone below the upper level RSI as well. Okay, back to the drawing board. I think we're just looking at stuff here, yeah. Bob, no. Go back and look at some of these newer coins here. Book of Cat. Actually surprised that hasn't existed yet. These candles are a little bit interesting. Slowing down here as well. LP's not burned. Anson's ant. Oh goodness. This one's brand new. Don't necessarily like super volatile at that age. So you can see some of the hardest parts is just finding the right entry on one of these tokens. Um, Otherwise, like I said, you're looking at a more established one, longer term one. This is a nice run that this one went on. Of course, it's not a great entry point at this point. Here's a ghost retracement. You want to see that break all time high though. Otherwise, it's going to continue this downtrend. Bit of a nice breakout here on Snapcat. Kind of like that. Of course, it pulls back as soon as I look at it. It doesn't look like we're going to find anything right this moment. I'm going to call this session here. Like I said, it is recorded, so we'll post it up. If you have any more questions regarding um, some of the process, etc., let me know. Otherwise, we will get back to it. We'll do it again. We'll see how things go. And yeah, I mean, stay safe. Make sure that if you're in the meme coin space, play with an allocation that you're willing to lose because it is super volatile. You can see here today we're down 25% on just the few trades that we did make from just swing downs, and that's kind of how it can go. But you can quite easily get some pretty large wins, and I've gone through some of those cycles myself, uh, and you get several in a row, and it's just can't lose, and then all of a sudden you get one big down one. So play safe, but it is a lot of fun. It is a good way to play around and kind of build up your process, what works for you, and then ideally you're in a spot where you can let some of those profits ride in some of these tokens and let them go a little longer term. If you're in these kind of near tokens, which can be very lucrative, make sure you are in them short term. And then if you're in some of the longer plays, there's definitely some good tokens out there that you can play on a kind of a longer term run as well. So that is it here for me. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll do it again soon.